Well, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers here. I'm going to do the best job that I can, but depending on what you know about this film or don't know about this film, technically it was already out in theaters, now it's on Peacock. I think it's best to go into this film knowing nothing, and it's more entertaining. So try not to watch a preview. This is going to be a weird review. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com. And this is my review of Abigail. This movie does have audio description, and it has a cast that features Melissa Barrera, Dan Stevens, Kevin Durand, the late Angus Cloud, Giancarlo Esposito, Katherine Newton. I'm trying to get through everybody here. And of course, as Abigail, we have Matilda herself has returned to the scene. The girl who played Matilda is in this as well. And she is excellent. And I'm going to try to talk about this film in as little detail as humanly possible. Audio description, it does have it. Peacock, you can't turn off the autoplay feature, so I never know who, I don't know. I don't know who's at the end of the film. So I don't know who described this, but it's a horror film, I'll tell you that. I think that's fair. We need to be able to tell you what genre it is, because there are people who would avoid gore, and there's gore in here. So we're going to tell you that. I don't want to tell you what kind of horror movie it is. I'll mention that it does have more of a comedy lean to it. Although it's possible for you to have some jump scare moments or some scary moments or whatever, some frightening. I don't know your level, but it is more, a little bit more from a humor side at times. There's a little bit of that to it. And here is my attempt at describing this film, because this film actually doesn't even really want you to know what it's about. So the film opens up with, I apologize for the cough. I don't know why my voice is scratchy today. Opens up with this group being hired to kidnap a little girl who is the titular Abigail. And they're like a, group of thieves and crooks that have been assembled for this job, and none of them know each other. It's very like, like no real names, right? Nobody tell anybody about, so nobody can be caught and nobody can tie anybody to anybody. If anybody gets caught, they wouldn't be able to say anything. They don't know who hired them. They don't know who the other people are. And for the people who keep trying to they're like, well, what's your name? What's your background? Finally, when they bring Abigail to the place where they're supposed to hold her, the guy that hired them, which is played by Giancarlo Esposito, basically just gives them names. So the names that they're using are not their names. We know nothing about these characters. So for anybody who has reviewed this film and been like, well, we know nothing about these characters, so it's really hard to connect to them. It's like, that's kind of the point of the film. Like, this film is aggressively pushing that, in so much that the casting really relies upon the actor's ability to sell you on themselves. This is one where just an actor's charisma is what stands out. You either like the actor or not. And that is what matters more than anything else. So, and then they have to embody a character that has no background, that doesn't even have a real name, and for the duration of however long they survive through this film. They're in this mansion, and the one who has been tasked with talking to Abigail, so that way she only hears one voice, has communication with one person, is Joey, played by Melissa Barrera. So she goes and she has conversations with Abigail, who's scared and she's crying and she's upset. And they have these conversations. And she's very nice, and Abigail's like, promise you won't let them hurt me, and she's like, I promise. And they do like a pinky promise, and like Joey's about to leave, she's on her way out the door, and Abigail goes, I'm sorry for what's about to happen to you. And Joey's like, what? So it gives them pause, and she talks about it with the rest of the group, and then they're trying to figure out what that means. And there's a suggestion that her father is a very powerful sort of almost like a folklore legend of a crime lord who has his hands in like everything, and they've been hired and to kidnap her. And from there, things just kind of get worse, is what I will say. Is that maybe they kidnapped the wrong girl. But why did they kidnap the wrong girl? Did they kidnap the wrong girl? What were the reasons for it? Why were they hired? Those are the kind of things that you're going to find out as the movie progresses. And that is about as far as I should tell you anything in this film. So, to leave you, I really want you to see this. I liked this. I liked this a lot. I thought most of the performances were good. For this to be Angus Cloud's final film, he oddly was the least likable character for me. I really did not jive with his character at all. I didn't really see the purpose for him, but he kind of is playing like a dumbass. And he's the one that doesn't like mesh with everybody else. Like everybody else feels like they could be some form of a criminal, like a professional. He just kind of feels like, what does he do? Deal weed? Like, what is he here for? Like, what is his skill set? It just doesn't really seem like somebody who, you know, I don't know. It's a very weird performance. But the film is graphic and gory, and the audio description embraces that. There are some really heavy scenes in terms of gore in this. It's not like Terrifier, to reference something that I've heard is, I won't even watch Terrifier. I have read breakdowns of Terrifier, and I'm like, okay, so that is, to me, on one end. We have stuff like that. This is not that, but this is more than you might expect for something like this. I thought Melissa Barrera did a good job. I'm glad she's still acting. I don't fully agree with the fact that people should always just be excommunicated from everything simply because they express an opinion. We have plenty of people who have expressed opinions on other things before, and who have backstories, and who have done things, and people have forgiven them for things, and they've done, I could list celebrities who have done like a lot of really bad things, and they're still working, and most people have moved on because there's been so much time between the thing that they did and where they are now, that most people have forgotten the thing that they did, you know? So it's just like, let's just move on. Like, who cares? So yes, I support Melissa Barrera's acting career. That's the hot take from this. And I think she's good. I think Dan Stevens is good here. I like Katherine Newton, although I thought she had more to do in Lisa Frankenstein. She's definitely the number 2 female lead here behind Melissa Barrera. She has like slightly less screen time, slightly less importance to the script than Melissa Barrera. Kevin Durand is always fun. He was really good earlier in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I thought he turned in a really good performance there as Proximus. So it's a good cast. Giancarlo Esposito is pretty reliably great whenever people need him to be in roles like that. So there is an actor that's well known that appears later in the film that I won't spoil, but you'll pick up another actor later on in the film, sort of a cameo. And of course, our main girl, who plays Abigail, is delightful, is the only way to put that. Absolutely any group that has any sort of award for, you know, best performance by a child actor or youth actor or whatever like that, she should absolutely be up for it. She was excellent in Matilda. I'm embarrassed that I can't remember her name, because I remembered it like right up until I started listing off the cast members, and then I was just like, it's gone. It's just, my mind just deleted her name. It's not, hasn't come back. So, yeah, she has given now 2 very strong performances, and she's great as Abigail. And I love this film. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a blast. And we don't make enough of these types of sort of like horror comedies aimed at wide audiences. I like this a lot more than the other stuff sometimes. Like I have fond memories of horror comedies that maybe people are like, I don't know, didn't really do it for me. It's like, well, I liked like Cooties and Tucker and Dale versus Evil and stuff like that. You know, I like that kind of thing. And Cabin in the Woods. You know, it's like you can have your violence and your gore and your horror moments and also a little bit of levity. And Abigail has that. Abigail is violent, very gory, and has some levity to it. Has some moments where you're just like, well, that's cute, or that's clever, or that's funny. It's not like an hour 45 of terror, just like sheer terror. As a matter of fact, like the first 30 minutes, I don't think really much happens because they're still trying to build the characters and build the story. Now, what I will say, and one of the reasons why you're like, why didn't this get an A if you liked it that much, is for the same reason I just said. If you watch the first 30 minutes of the film, you can basically guess what's going to happen from that point on. I think 75% of the people who watch this film have seen enough horror movies that they know what's going to happen, what's coming, and I saw all of the twists. I called them all out, and that was before a single body hit the floor. I had this whole movie played out in my head before a single body hit the floor. But for the 25% of you that don't usually watch this kind of thing, I think the movie really is trying its best to hide some stuff from you, and I don't want to ruin that experience. So, and it does. It has some twists. So you may be like, well, I see what one thing is coming, but there are a couple other things that happen throughout the course of the film where you're like, oh, well, maybe I didn't see that coming. So it's, yeah. This is the most spoiler-free I've been in a long time. I'm really trying to avoid it because I really think if you've avoided trailers, this is a great movie to avoid trailers for, and a great movie to just try to go in cold. I wish I'd seen this earlier just so I could have recommended do not watch trailers. Just go in quickly before anybody spoils it for you, and see it. So anyway, the audio description, yeah, it's what I look for in a horror movie is, did you describe the violence and the gore to what I felt like was the highest rate of, yeah, you did. I'm not really sure everybody is like ethnically diversely described in appropriate ways, which kind of disappoints me. But these characters are it's very weird. It's like, I don't want to give it a pass for that, but at the same time, you're not really supposed to know much about these characters, and a lot of them are wearing masks. So, like, they're not supposed to know that much about each other. They wear masks around Abigail. So it's like, they're not really fully visible all the time. They don't have backstories, largely for most of the film. Some of them start talking about themselves, or stuff is revealed or whatever, and gradually you might learn a couple things about some people, but really this is just like, here's some random people who were hired, and the reason for that is so that they wouldn't be able to connect each other, right, to anything. So, yeah, it's it does the main thing right. It does the horror narration right. So I would give a thumbs up on that. Anyway, I'm giving Abigail an A-. I liked it. I think you should watch it. And that's it. I will watch something else and see you guys on the other side.